Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Alethea Thomas, and welcome back to my channel. I appreciate you coming back and visiting. For those of you who wondered where in the world I went the last 3 months, I want to say, I kind of took a break. I took a break for a little while. Some of it was mental health. Some of it was just because I was way too busy, and some of it was just because I had no idea what to even make videos about. So primarily, I did booktube type videos, and I still am doing that. I'm still reading a ton, basically, and I'm going to do like a catch-up video for that really soon. I want to basically make a video about what I read at the very end of the year, and then a nice little wrap up for 2024, what books I enjoyed the most, what books I didn't care for, because I thought those videos were really fun. So that is coming, and I promise it will be pretty soon. I have time today, so I may actually film it today. I don't know. But another thing I really like doing, and I kind of want to use just my channel to, video diary sort of thing. But I'd also like to do more crafting content because I've been crocheting like mad. One of the things I do often is just listen to an audiobook and then keep my hands busy with doing crochet. It's soothing to me. It kind of is meditative and keeps my mind straight. So I plan on doing more content of that, and that is what we're doing today. I decided for the new year of 2025 that I would go ahead and start a temperature blanket. So this temperature blanket was inspired by another YouTuber, and I'm using the exact same colors as she did, and I really loved how her blanket turned out, and so I wanted to basically copy it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I will put a link in the description of this video to her channel. And she is It's Briellis, I believe. Let me see if I can find her channel really quick. At It's Briellis. And yeah, her name is just Brie Ellis. Brellis. And she just made this fabulous temperature blanket. So I'm basically copying her idea, whole cloth, pun intended. So the yarn that we're using is the Lion brand Heartland yarn. And it came out a couple years ago, actually. And they keep making this yarn. And so I'm hoping that through this year I won't run out of yarn and have an issue trying to find a replacement for the yarns. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be a problem. They've been selling it for a few years now, so I shouldn't have that much problem if I run out of a color being able to repurchase, because that is one problem I have sometimes. The gal, the other creator who made this blanket, lives in a similar area as I do. She's in Kansas, where I am in Missouri. So the temperature varies a little bit, but not a lot. And the one color that she had used the most was I think she said it was the 60 to 69 degree Bryce Canyon. And the 50 to 59 degree is the one I figured would be the one I end up using the most of. And so the 60 to 69 is called Bryce Canyon, and then the 50 to 59 is a really funky name, Haleakala, which I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. And these colors are so beautiful in this particular range that Heartland by Lion brand had put out. They're inspired by the Parks Service in the United States of America, our national parks, and they're basically named after different places and sites you can see in the national parks, which I love. So in order here, and maybe I'll try and put on the side of here the temperature range associated with these. The first one's Badlands and Redwood, and then Yosemite, the Gateway Arch, Bryce Canyon, Haleakala, Petrified Forest, Carlsbad Caverns, and Voyagers. And the last one for the colors is North Cascades. So how I'm setting up this temperature blanket, just like hers, we're going to be doing 230 single crochet stitches for every single day. And the temperatures correspond right here exactly as you see. So if the high temperature of that day is within a particular range, it will be that color. And I am using a month divider also. I had to have a different month divider actually than the original creators. I decided to use a darker gray, kind of a blacky gray. Instead, she had used, I think, a cream or a white. So that will be the divider for the month. And then the next day will start after that. So I think that that's kind of all I'll explain about the colors and how I've done it. I made myself a nice little card and just kind of a reminder of how many single crochet stitches it should be on each row. I'm one of these people that when I crochet sometimes, whoops, my tea, a little bit spilled. I'm one of these people when I'm single crocheting and I get to the very end of the row, I sometimes forget that stitch is on the very, very end. Or I'll even like make an extra stitch on accident. So I do like to know my stitch counts exactly, because then that way I don't end up making that silly mistake and screwing up, and then you end up, especially if you're making a blanket, you end up with this bell shape almost because it just gets wider and wider and wider, or narrower and narrower and narrower. It just depends on what you mess up on. But it's always amusing to me when that happens. So, because then I have to rip the whole thing apart and do it all over again. The other thing I'm doing is tracking the actual temperature. So I have a spreadsheet and just have the month and then the day, and then I just put the temperature in. That way, if I am falling behind or I don't have time, or something comes up, then at least I've tracked that and I know the temperature, and then I can just do all of it sitting one day, and then I can just make notes for myself also on the spreadsheet. I'm a spreadsheet gal. It just makes my life easier. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there was anything else. Hook size for this. So Heartland Yarn actually recommends that you use a J hook, which is a 6mm hook, and it makes sense to me for that. However, I tend to crochet really loose, and I'd kind of like it, especially if it's single crochet, I'd like it to be a little bit tighter. If it's just kind of the weave be a little bit tighter. So I feel like if a 6mm is too loose, I'm probably going to go down a half a hook size or even a full hook size. So the first thing I'm going to do today is go ahead and do the first color, because today is the first, and this is my 40 degree to 49 degree yarn right here. This one is Petrified Forest. So we're starting strong with kind of a bluish gray color, which is very pretty actually. I love this bluish gray color. And go ahead and, crochet a swatch, basically. And I've got my 2 hooks that I think I'm going to end up using. This one is the 5.5mm. So I'm going to try it first to see if I like it. If I don't like it, then I'll go down an entire hook size to the 5mm, which is an H hook. So quick note, one thing I got for Christmas this year was a brand new hook set. And I got this from my stepmom, who's a wonderful, wonderful lady. Couldn't ask for a better stepmom, to be perfectly honest. Let me set this aside. It's a really nice set. I used to just use hooks like this that were just, a stick. They're plastic. These were made by Lion brand back in the day. I don't know if you can still get these. I used to have an entire set of this, and I still have most of the hooks. I've lost hooks with projects over the years. They get shoved into the yarn. A UFO project, ends up going in a bin somewhere, and I never end up finding finding the hooks. But this set comes with a, you know, a nice little pouch that you keep. If you can see that, it's called Yarnness. It's available on Amazon. It's really nice. But one thing that's really nice, it's got these. Let's see if I can get my face out of there. Nice cushiony, you know, big grips on them, which is something I'm starting to need more and more. As you get older, your hands, you know, takes a toll on your hands, and it's difficult to grip those, you know, yarn hooks that are just the stick. So hopefully this will help my poor hands over time. The kit also came with a pair of snips, which is nice, and some stitch markers, and I like the little baggie too. So I'm going to put some other stitch markers that I have in this baggie. It also came with some yarn needles, which I always misplace my yarn needles. So that's really nice. But what's super nice is you can just keep all of it in this pouch, and it just makes your life so much easier. The range of the hooks in here is really, really good, actually. And I think my smallest hook might be a C, which is a 2.5 millimeter. And then it goes all the way up to a hulking M, which is a 9 millimeter. So, I mean, that's a big difference. Yeah, I think M is the largest in here. This one may be small. Oh, a 2 millimeter. Yeah, so this is a 2 millimeter. It's even smaller. So nice big range. I've been using these for a couple of weeks. I really like them. So if you're in the market for a new set of hooks and you don't want to spend a ton of money on anything super fancy, I recommend totally the Yarnness, if that will focus. There you go. I'll try and put a link in the description too of this video. So I'll quit blathering now. I'm gonna do a quick test stitch. What did I say it was called? A swatch. I'm gonna do a really quick swatch with this, and I will be back. Okay, so this is the result of the 5.5 millimeter, which wasn't too bad. I don't know if that will focus that well. No, to hold it back a bit. It's not bad. I just noticed this yarn, it's very soft. It is an acrylic blend, right? Let me double check. It says sensationally soft, premium acrylic, so it is acrylic. And it's got a good slip to it, however, and I get this with some yarns, if it doesn't have a grip to it, it tends to slide too much with me, which I don't mind it. It's not impossible to work with, so it's okay. But I noticed that in between rows of single crochet, I've got a bit of a gap going on, and I don't know if I'm such a fan of that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down a full hook size and try that. So I'm going to rip this apart and redo it. I know some people just hate ripping apart their crochet, but I've ripped apart so much crochet in my life, it does not faze me to the least anymore. I'm also very picky about which way my yarn faces, especially when you start with with your slip knot. I'm just picky about it. I'm picky about some things. I have a tendency also to do my first row, my chain stitches, tight. And I catch myself doing it all the time. Like, that feels to me like it's super tight. So I'm going to try and loosen up a bit, so that I don't get this sucking in or curving in that tends to happen if your chain stitches are really tight compared to your regular crochet stitches. So let's just make a little one. I don't know if I'll do as many rows as I did with that first sample. All right, that's good enough. Then we will go ahead and make the next row. Hopefully you guys can picking this up okay. One thing I am noticing with this yarn, the way it's slippy, I'll get used to it, but I tend to use a more rough yarns. I've used hand spun yarns before. Machine spun yarns always have a slippier feel to me. But working on a project like this, I wanted to do myself a big favor and just be able to get the yarn and it be readily available should I run out of anything. So I just went ahead and got a machine-made, publicly available, if you will, sort of yarn. I'm a little bit spoiled. In where I live, there's an alpaca farm literally a few miles from me, and they card and create yarn, and I know the gal who runs it, and I get dibs on new stuff, and she's very kind, and so we like to work on little fiber projects every once in a while. We sit and chat and just work on stuff, and she loves to just give me yarn that she can't sell, and it just sits in a bin somewhere, and she hasn't sold it, and and she just will give me the kind of the unpopular stuff, and I make some kind of nice things out of the unpopular stuff. I make hats and mittens and little scarves and things like that, small projects that you can use a small amount of yarn on. Because they're specialty batches and you can't ever match the colors. It's pretty much impossible. She does have recipes for certain colors that she likes to make, but even with the recipes, the variegation, like just the difference in the ink that she gets, sometimes like different commercial, different commercial dyes will do odd things. So when she makes a particular color that she believes and knows, even that she knows that will be really popular and will sell really well, she tries to make the largest batches that she can of that particular color, and then that way people can buy enough for their projects, for really large projects. But I tend to not do super large projects anyway. But because of this particularly large project, because it's going to be a year long, I decided that commercial yarn would be my best bet. I kind of like that better. In fact, I like that a lot better. And I feel like the slimmer hook kind of deals better with the slippage issue. Like, how do I describe this? Crocheters will know this. There's just a comfort. There's just a comfortable feeling when you're sliding the hook into a loop, sliding it out, catching your yarn, and pulling it through. There's there's just this feeling, a more comfortable feeling when you find the right hook to use with the yarn. And I'm not feeling a lot of catching, I'm not feeling a lot of slippage, I'm not feeling, you know, it doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel bad at all, it's tolerable. I have had some yarn and hook combinations that were just intolerable, and it just didn't even feel good to do anymore, and I just got fed up with it and, you know, throw the project out the window, basically. But it's okay. So I think I found my combination, and I keep just working this because it feels comfortable. But I know in my mind I need to stop. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and stop for right now. This is my nice little swatch. I am going to go with this hook, which is my H hook, the 5mm solid hook. And I'm just going to frog this and wrap it back up. And then I will go ahead and sit down and do my 230 stitches to get it started. And what I think I'll do is just do the chaining and the first row. And I'll just do the same color. That way it'll be easier. I'm going to keep these chains, just go ahead and count them out. Make my life slightly easier. So anyway, that's this update. Let me change this camera angle. And we'll go ahead and end the video then. Alright, here's my chain of 230. We are going to do one more for 231 so that I can count that as my turning chain. And then we are going to single crochet into the second stitch from the hook, it would be, and then continue single crocheting from there. And I will film myself single crocheting here for a little bit. The original creator, Ella, is that what her name is? Ella? Yeah, I'm really bad with names, so I apologize. Brie Ella. It took her 20 minutes to do the single crochets, and I figured if it would take her 20 minutes to sit down and do a row of single crochet, then it would probably take me about that long. She seemed like fairly, good is not the right word, knowledgeable, experienced, that's better. And she seems like a more experienced crocheter, and probably has, well, maybe a little less experience than I do. I'm not 100% positive. I've been crocheting for an amount of time that's embarrassing, actually, because it would give away my age a lot. Not that y'all don't know already. I'm getting up there. So, let me see here. I guess I might chat just for a couple of minutes while I'm doing this. So, another thing I'd kind of like to explore with this channel, and let me know if this sort of topic would be meaningful or helpful to you all in any way, is that the 2024, the year that was 2024, was a year of a lot of change for me personally as far as my mental health went. So if you happen to watch this channel at all in the last, couple of months or so, oh dang it, I hate it when I do that. There was a bit of some of the yarn, when it's spun, it's kind of loose. This one is particularly loose, and so sometimes some of the part of the yarn, like a thread of the yarn, I'll say, gets doesn't get caught by the hook, and so then you end up with this kind of like funky looking piece. But what I usually do is just ignore it, and then I just catch that bit and go ahead and crochet it with the next stitch. So anyway, regardless, this last year was just anxiety heck for me. I had never been anxious before. It started basically in February of 2024. I just started having panic attacks all the time and couldn't get it to stop, didn't understand what was going on. I thought something was actually like physically wrong with me at one point, so I was kind of having this health anxiety stuff going on. It was the worst. I sincerely hope that most people not go through this, and hope that most people go through their lives and never like experience this kind of feeling of paranoia. Something is wrong with me. I don't know what it is. My heart feels like it's pounding out of my chest, and basically my mind was freaking me out. And it's interesting how the mind has the capacity just to control so much of your physical feeling, and even to interpret natural, normal physical feelings as there being something wrong. So perhaps I was experiencing things that I had never really experienced before. I wasn't sure how to process that, and then I just went off the rails. My therapist and I have no idea, really. I mean, it could have been anything. So, moral of the story being, I kind of like to do a little series, a couple of videos, maybe not like a whole like crazy in-depth. I'm going to be like this person to help you through, whatever it is you're going through, because I'm not qualified to do that at all. But I just kind of wanted to share my personal experience and the things that I did to help me, because perhaps the things that helped me may be able to help you. Long story short, after a year, almost a year now, it has gotten to a place where I am way more comfortable with bodily changes, way more comfortable with bodily feelings, way more comfortable in general, and dealing with, the physical manifestations of my anxiety. I'll call it that. Because I get symptoms, because anxiety is the issue. I am experiencing the symptoms of the anxiety and have to figure out how to deal with that. And so, my therapist and I, which is like the number one thing I will say everybody should do, especially if you're experiencing some kind of a mental health issue, go see somebody. Like that right away. Go see somebody. Talk to them. You probably have to start with an actual doctor first, just to kind of rule out, any real problems. I do recommend you do that. Some people recommend you don't do that because it's almost like a spiraling effect, where you start getting nervous about going because you're like, oh, they're going to find something that's wrong. There's going to be actually something wrong. Where I think 90% of the time there's really nothing wrong. You're just going through kind of a change in your life. Some people, they might actually have something wrong though. So I will throw that out there as a warning. However, I think in most people's cases, going to see an actual doctor first is the best course of action. If you can go and see a mental health professional first, that may be the way to go too. So I think it just depends on your particular situation. Moving on, see a therapist, see somebody, talk to somebody, just talk to somebody about the problem. Let them know, what you're feeling, how it's going. So most of the time, sometimes that is the cure-all, is to just talk to somebody. So yeah, I was thinking about going ahead and doing a little series on that, and just to talk about some of the different techniques I've learned this year, different methods I have explored, and just, what triggers me, what could possibly trigger other people. Very, very, very quickly. I'm not going to go in depth on this, but I know I get overwhelmed. I get overwhelmed by a lot of things. I get overwhelmed by the amount of responsibility that I have. I get overwhelmed by a lot of yelling and screaming and noise. And as a mother, that is not an uncommon trigger for anxiety, because I have young kids, small kids. They're running around and yelling and screaming all the time. And I try in my household to establish the rule, especially now, of when you're inside the house, we have to act like we're indoors. Inside voices, don't run around screaming like, maniacs all the time. I know it's kind of harsh to some people because, kids need to be kids, and I get that. But kids can be kids outside, So, that's just kind of one thing. It's just overwhelm and yelling and lots of noise. And then the other problem was the physical sensations I was feeling from stressors. And the overwhelm triggers the stress triggers the physical feelings, and then it just kept going and going in this endless cycle. One of the other big things, I think, is what really manifested this a lot, and fed into the cycle, like kind of was the spark that lit the gasoline on fire, was my mortality. The knowing I am immortal and that I will die one day. And a lot of the women in my life, personally, have died early. Not all of them at all. In fact, I have a sister that has made it past the age that my mother was when she died. But my mother-in-law, and my father-in-law, all gone now, and all from diseases or accidents that occurred, not a fault of their own, just part of everyday living, that sort of thing. But how they left made me afraid, I think. And so that's one of the things that, we talked about a lot in therapy, just kind of this rationalization and this acceptance of being human, of being mortal, and knowing that one day it's going to be done. So, sorry, I don't mean to be depressing or anything like that, but that's just kind of the spark that lit everything on fire and gave me the worst anxiety I had ever experienced. And I'm a very chill person. Most of my life, anxiety-free, completely anxiety-free. Nowadays, though, especially in the last couple of years, and I noticed this starting a few years ago, is when my husband and I would go out into public and and go eat dinner, at a restaurant or something like that. I would sit down, I would have my meal in front of me, and I'd be so hungry and ready to eat it and just excited. And then I'd start freaking out for no reason at all. And I'd sit there and I'd look at my food and I'd be like, I can't eat this. I am so thinking about everything else going on around me, and so not fearful, but almost overly stimulated and excited, maybe, that I couldn't eat a bite. And that was the most infuriating thing with me. I cannot tell you how many times we'd go somewhere nice, and I'd sit there, and my husband would be like, well, you haven't touched your food. And I said, I know, but I can't eat it now. I mean, I'll just have to take it home. And so I'd take home, culinary masterpieces and takeout boxes because I couldn't eat it there at the restaurant. I mean, it would destroy the entire experience for me. So, yeah. So anyway, those are kind of the things that I dealt with over the past year, and it really sucked. But it's much better now. It's so much better now. So anyway, I kind of wanted to bring some content out, a few different episodes, and they'll be, not as disorganized as what I'm describing now, because we're filming a completely different video right now. But I just wanted to rattle on over here and talk while I'm sitting and single crocheting. because I am a little bit more than halfway now. But I will cut this part of the video here, and I will catch up to you when I am done single crocheting. And again, let me know if the anxiety content would be helpful, if you're interested at all in that kind of thing. I think I'm just going to do it anyway, to be perfectly honest. One thing I will do when I put the videos out is in the titles, I will put trigger freaking warning. This is about anxiety. I just don't want to trigger anybody. I don't want to make anybody upset. I don't want to make anybody spiral, because oh my gosh, I have been there, and I have spiraled hard, and I've had days where I couldn't even like function properly. I could function pretty well, and I could do the things I had to do, but I had days, I kid you not, I was basically bedridden and couldn't stop shaking because I was so afraid. And it was just fear. And it was terrible. So, I'm sure I just sent somebody into a spiral now. I feel sorry. I'm so sorry. But I will go ahead and cut this and then catch up to you once I'm done single crocheting. All right, that is 230 stitches. It's like a big long snake at this point. So tomorrow, I'm not sure what the temperature exactly will be. The high for today was 41. I think I mentioned that earlier. Tomorrow looks like it's going to get to a high of 45, which will keep it in this same color. But so I don't have to deal with a color change tomorrow. However, when we get to Friday, which today is Wednesday, tomorrow's Thursday, and the day after that's Friday. When it gets to Friday, we will be down to 36. So then that will put me into Carlsbad Caverns, which is a kind of dark blue, which should be this one. Yeah. So that'll be a pretty change, I think. And then we should just start getting colder from there. So I'm hoping we get a lot of use out of the nice light colors, because I do like blue a lot. But then once we get out of the blues, we get into a kind of this nice green again, and then into the oranges and reds, and then this kind of purple color. I just love those colors. Aren't they fabulous? Hopefully that's picking up well. Okay, I think that's it then for right now. As far as updates on this blanket goes, I will probably update monthly. I may try to actually do some shorts of me just sitting and stitching it. That might be good too. So we'll just see what kind of time I have to actually do that, and go from there as far as that goes. And I think that's it. Happy 2025. I hope that you guys start with bang, you know. Have a good year. I want to have an awesome year this year. So anyway, Happy New Year. We'll see you soon. Bye.